Hello everybody and welcome back to this tutorial, and right now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the for loop. So we already covered the if statement, the if else statement, the while loop, the while true loops, how to break out of them, how to continue in them. We coded some of the some of the useful programs such as password checker, really nothing special yet, but hey, that is something as well. So let us go with the for loop right now. In order to do that, we can just open up our idle, and the for loop usually, but doesn't have to be, but usually comes with the statement or the function range. So what that means is that it allows us for some counter in range, from example from 1 to 100, we want to perform a certain task. Of course, in that counter, in that for loop, we also want to increase that counter every time we perform that specific task, because otherwise that would be an infinite for loop, and that is not really that useful for us. So let us see how we can actually implement the for loop. So first of all, while you are actually using the counter in the for loop, it is good to notice that you don't really need to define it before it. You can actually use it or the for loop defines it itself. So for I in range, for example, 1 to 100, as I said, so like this, add the two dots, and right here, for I in range 1 to 100, you want to perform some specific actual function or some specific task right here. So we can just print hello. We're not really doing anything specific, but I'm just showing you how you can do that. And then, of course, you need to increase the counter right after you perform that certain task. Otherwise, this would not make any sense. So we want to increase it. I equals I plus 10. Press here enter once again, and we get printed out the actual, pardon me, this is a for loop. Yeah, I forgot. You don't really need to actually increase the counter in the for loop. The for loop increases it itself, which is another good thing. So for example, let me just do it once again, since we actually added a line that we don't need. So for I in range 1 through 10, so let us use it 1 through 10, print hello plus string of I. So this will be printing out hello 1, hello 2, hello 3, hello 4, and so on until hello 10. So just type here, right here, enter. It finishes our for loop. You can see that right here we didn't really increase the counter. Not really sure why I told you that you need to increase it. I maybe mistook it with the actual while loop and if statement. In the for statement, you don't really need to do that. The for does it for you. The for statement does it for you, as we can see right here. For a certain counter I in range from 1 to 10, we're going to print hello. And it printed out hello 10 times. Starts counting from 1 and goes through 9. The reason why it doesn't go through 10 is because the 10 is not basically considered as in the range itself. So there is also another thing that is mostly used in the for statement as well. This is a function that we already encountered before, which is the length. So if we just specify a string, for example, now I will use it with a string, but it is most likely used always with the list itself, counting the elements, but right now we're going to count the characters from a string. Now, if you have no idea what I'm talking about, don't worry, right now I will show you. So let's say we have a string that says, let me just find it, that says hello there. Simple as that. String that says hello there. Then you can use a for loop that will actually go through the range of the length of that certain string, which isn't really that useful for us right here as a string, but it would be useful if we had a list. We would go through the range of the length of that list, and the length of that list would be retrieving the actual number of elements in that certain list. So let me just show you what I mean. Let us first of all count how many characters are in this string. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in hello, 1 empty space, and 5 more in there. So 11 characters in this string. Then we can use for I in range, and then open brackets, length, open another brackets, from the string, close two brackets, and then, let me just go right here, two dots, print, this is length of string. Doesn't even matter what you print, this is just so it prints something. You press here enter and it will print this is length of a string the same amount of times that there are characters in the actual string itself. So this right here is the actual, first of all, it performs the inner function, which is the length. The length of string is 11, and what this does is for I in range 11, so 1 through 11, this will get printed out. And that's why it gets printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 times. So that is basically a simple usage of the for loop. Now, also there are a few other things that you can do with it, which we are going to cover, such as, for example, this range right here doesn't have to be an actual specification of 1 through 10. You can actually specify it to count 1 through 10, but every second steps, for example, it will print out every second number. This will get shortened out from 10 times printed out to 5 times printed out. And you can specify that with the another comma and then the number that you want to skip. So for I in range 1 through 10 and then comma 2. What this means is it will go for I in range 1 through 10, but each time it will not increase I by 1, it will rather increase I by 2. So that would mean that, for example, if I is 0 at the beginning, or pardon me, 1 at the beginning, it will be 3 in the next turn of the for loop. So I will show you right now, it will print it only 5 times, so print, this will get printed 5 times. Close this, and you can see this will get printed 5 times. Now if you specified any other number here, such as for example for I in range 1 through 10, and then the actual 5, so that means that this will get printed out 5 times. Print hello. No, pardon me, 2 times, not 5 times. This will get printed out 2 times. Close the brackets, and you can see this gets printed out 2 times. Now also one more important thing, well not so important, but one more thing that you should know is that you can actually count backwards with for loop. So you don't need to type here for I in range 1 through 10, you can simply type here for I in range 10 through 1. But right here, you need to also specify how to adjust the I variable. So we need to actually subtract it every time by 1. This will also print the actual statement 10 times, but it will go from backwards. In case you want I to go from 10 to 1 instead of 1 through 10 for any reason you want. If you want, for example, to print a list like this, so let me just show you. For I in range 1 through 10, and you simply just print I, you can see it gets printed out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. But if you just type here for I in range 10 to 1, and then comma minus 1, and then you specify print I once again, you can see it gets printed out in 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. So it goes backwards. Now in some cases that might be useful. For us it really isn't at the moment. I just want to show you that there is that option as well. And basically that is all for the actual for statement. Now what we are going to do in the next lecture is we are going to cover some of the modules, importations, library importation, and how you can use different libraries that are already pre-installed with Python 3. We'll take a look at some of them. Now we will not, of course, use many of those functions yet. We're only going to see how you can import them and how you can use them. So hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and I hope I see you in the next lecture. Bye!